Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I decided I'm going to start hitting the biggest target out there for nutrition misinformation on the internet, since I debunk misinformation all the time, try to bring you guys the real truth, the facts to the best of my ability. And there is no bigger target out there than Food Babe, who I'm going to start calling Food Boob from now on. One of the subscribers gave me the idea. It's perfect, because I'm not saying she's not a babe, but the things that she says, she is also clearly a boob. Now let's keep in mind, this is somebody who has been denounced by every single nutrition department of every university she's ever spoken at. In fact, when she goes to speak at universities, the nutrition department usually has to come up behind her and say that her facts are not based on actual science and they don't support anything that she says. So just throwing that out there. So her newest claim with leukemia and sucralose. Let's jump into it. All right, so let me put on my +5 cap of weaponsmithing. Prime a little Lake City brass. And why this hat? Because it makes me look like a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus, just like Jesse Ventura, who I do a terrible imitation of, but that's okay. But she's claiming that sucralose causes leukemia. You need to be aware of sucralose in your food. Well, for those of you who don't know what sucralose is Splenda. It's an artificial sweetener. People have been using it for decades now. It's generally been deemed as safe. There were some concerns that came up recently that it might be linked to cancer or leukemia, but you know what? I'm going to link down below for you guys an article in Daily Science discussing the newest meta-analysis released recently on it that determined sucralose has no link at all to cancer. None. Zero. Zip. Zilch. But you know what? The problem is that to people like Food Boob, that doesn't matter. Because to come out and say that something manufactured in a lab is actually safe and doesn't cause cancer, because all the data shows that it doesn't fit with her fear-mongering, because chemicals cause cancer. All chemicals do. And even though everything we eat is chemicals, anything made by a man is an even worse chemical, and it has to cause cancer. That's her MO. So she's going to keep harping on that, but the thing is, that's because that's her sensationalism. That's what she sells. That's what she's making her fortune on. Sensationalism. But you know what? All the researchers are saying Splenda is safe. And you know what else we have? And people are going to say, well, that's just a big industry. The sugar industry is not a big industry. Hell, the sugar industry has spent millions and millions of dollars trying to get researchers in the past to point stuff in the other direction away from them. But you know what causes cancer? Processed sugar. In fact, those same sugars, even if not processed, eaten in large enough quantities, can still hurt you if you were to gorge yourself on excessive amounts of even natural sugary foods. How about honey? You know, you get 500 calories from honey every single day and then come back and tell me that you don't suffer the same health effects, and that's a natural food, that you get from table sugar, consuming the same amount. You'll have the same problems. You know what those problems are? Everything from diabetes to cancer. So when you're taking all these highly concentrated fructose containing sugars and you're going to replace them with an artificial sweetener that when we study it hasn't been linked to cancer, has no calories, no insulin response, no negative effect on IGF-1, but it gives you a sweet taste, makes foods taste better with no detectable harmful effects, when it is actually a competitor with one of the biggest markets, food markets in the world, the sugar industry. How are we going to stand here and claim that that's going to be food bias? If anything, the sugar industry would be the first ones to be jumping on the fact to be paying money to get that competitor removed. Look what they did with aspartame. Aspartame is generally deemed to be safe also, but you know what? It's cheap. The people making it aren't even making as much on it as people make off sugar, because it's so cheap to produce that they don't sell it for very much. They sell it for pennies because they don't need to sell it for much, because it doesn't cost them anything. It's actually less expensive to make than sugar, sells for less profit. And you know what? It turned out that all these concerns about aspartame haven't been really true. Same sort of thing happened. It's been so heavily researched because of the fears out there, because people were so concerned and scared of it that millions and millions of dollars had to go to research it. So a lot of money was lost doing research to determine if this stuff was safe. And it's been found over and over that, yeah, it might have some minor issues here and there in large enough quantities, but nobody's consuming those quantities. And so it's generally deemed as safe. Well, guess what? Splenda is safe also. And it's an alternative to table sugar. And that's the thing, the table sugar industry has always spent money to try to prove that all these things are bad, like they do with high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is no worse than table sugar. They're both equally crappy for you taken in excessive quantities. In moderation, neither one's going to hurt you, by the way. But in excess, they are deadly, both of them, equally so. Yet, how many people buy into this, oh, I'm going to eat table sugar now instead of high fructose corn syrup because of all the marketing about it, as if they're any different. Or they're going to consume raw sugar now. It's the same shit. It's no different. You're still getting the same problems if you consume it in excess, in the exact same excess, exact same problems. So there's always this marketing to knock down sugar alternatives, and that's the crazy thing. Why don't any of these kooks like Food Boob talk about that? The fact that the sugar industry pays money and puts stuff out there to try to knock down any of their competitors. High fructose corn syrup, they did it with them, which is equally bad. It's not worse than table sugar. It's equally bad. They did it with aspartame, which isn't anywhere near as bad as table sugar. Now they're going to do it with Splenda because that takes money out of their pocket. And that's a big industry that's got money just burned on that. Why isn't she going to mention that? That they are the ones who are going to be interested in getting these artificial sweeteners knocked down. You know what? At the end of the day, there's no data anywhere to suggest that a single artificial sweetener that's been developed is actually equally as bad for you as table sugar. Even if they had a few negative effects, they're not going to be as bad as table sugar. Yet everyone wants to harp on them, and the truth is, there's your data. Your meta-analysis shows, looking at the total sum of studies done, there's no link between Splenda and cancer. Splenda is pretty safe. And you know what? All the other data we've seen that came out again this year, artificial sweeteners and zero-calorie beverages, they're actually helpful weight loss tools because they actually have a mild satiation effect, very, very mild one, with no added calories. That taste of sweetness that you get, it turns out, they can slightly suppress appetite, just a little tiny bit, giving you just a little tiny fat loss advantage. Is it going to make or break weight loss? No, but it could equal half a pound more a month. Tiny little advantage. So they're doing that without negatives. They actually have a health positive. We have an obesity epidemic in this country. You know what kills people? Heart disease. What causes heart disease? Obesity and diabetes. Obesity is the driving cause in this country of cardiovascular disease, cancers, diabetes. It's way up there on the list. Producing zero-calorie foods that help you lose weight a little faster, when obesity is what's killing people, is the problem? I don't think so. It's all these highly refined, calorically dense foods that add tons of calories to your diet without filling you up. That's your real danger. That's your real threat. And you know what? There are even natural foods, naturally occurring healthy foods that are very calorically dense with a low satiety out there. They exist. There's plenty of them. And a lot of these whole food advocates even advocate some of those foods. You see them talking about stuff like organic yak butter. And you're going to tell me that adding organic yak butter to your diet is going to make weight loss easier? No, it's not. It's a pure fat. It's almost a pure saturated fat. Come on, get real. Unless you're doing a straight ketogenic diet, which is appetite suppressing in and of itself. So, this attack on zero-calorie foods when they are generally considered to be safe, and the attack on zero-calorie foods when we have an obesity epidemic, and the obesity epidemic is killing people by the droves. It is the leading cause of death in this country. Leading cause of death. Yet Food Boob is going to attack artificial sweeteners. Again, chemicals and cancer. And you know why she does it? Not because she cares about anybody. She'd be concerned about the obesity epidemic first and foremost, because you know what? Obesity causes cancer. And you know what? Obesity causes heart disease, and heart disease kills more people than cancer does. That needs to be the real concern. Once you get people in the gym, you get people focusing on just eating higher satiety foods, getting a little more fiber in their diet, a little more protein in their diet, getting in the weight room, doing some resistance training, and walking every day. There's your big issues right there. You do that, you'll cut the mortality rate in half, maybe cut it in a third from all these man-made lifestyle-induced diseases. Most of these diseases we have are from being fat as fuck. That's what causes them. let's just be honest. And 30% of the American population is obese now. So you want solutions, there's your solutions. Quit harping on artificial sweeteners just because they're made in a lab. You know what? Almost everything that betters our life in some way seems to be made in a lab. Life-saving drugs. Life-saving instruments that can help repair your body when you've been injured are all made in labs. Science is a good thing. Science moves us forward as a species. And people who want to talk about natural living, I look at people who talk about natural living, you don't see any of them out in the woods hunting down animals for their meat at least once a week. If they want to live natural, why aren't you out there as a hunter-gatherer actually stalking and killing your food? You know, it's a game to talk about a natural life. It's bullshit to make people feel good about themselves and to talk about a bunch of hippie shit. These people aren't living any sort of natural life. It's impossible if you live in a city to have any life even remotely related to anything any person had historically in nature. So again, it's all bullshit. And this avoiding of technology and modern medicine and modern foods because of chemicals or science is just asinine and absurd. And seriously, people like Food Boob are an absolute scourge on the community. And they need to be called out. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.